Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Thunder Bay Police Board discussed the province's new Community Safety and Policing Act at their monthly meeting this past week, and they got an update regarding the impact on the local police force. The new act came into effect on April 1st of this year. Constable Colin Woods noted there are some transition periods outlined in the regulations to allow the local force to become compliant. The police service needs to implement 9 new procedures to meet the Act's requirements. Woods says all police services are in the same boat with this one, and he says the government didn't have a strong answer regarding monetary assistance.
It is, unfortunately, it's downloaded onto the municipal levels, for the OPP, obviously at the provincial level, to implement this at a cost to the municipality. Now I can say though that we are ahead of the game. We have, our rifles are purchased. They've been purchased for a number of years. A lot of the tools for the active attacker type response that are mandated now, we have those already. So those costs are already, they're already taken care of in a sense. It'll just be the other parts of it that we have to get compliant with.
Following Woods' presentation on the new act, board member Casey Atraney also noted there were implications for the board itself and says they've identified 11 new policies that need to be created. This week's Noma AGM saw tourism leaders in Northern Ontario share their strategies for the coming year. The panel discussion was led by the president of the Tourism Industry Associations of Ontario, Andrew Siegwart. The 5 panelists came to the Noma conference to share their knowledge about the tourism industry. The sector continues to make progress towards recovery from the pandemic, but hasn't been able to reach 2019 performance levels. During the discussion, the panel shared some of the bright spots where they are seeing growth.
We're fairly fortunate as an urban center is that we have a diversified tourism economy. We have leisure, sport, convention. We have the travel trade, obviously the cruise ships, being part of that. And so we have seen a hunger to travel post-pandemically. People are excited to get out again, and outdoor, less crowded destinations are certainly top of mind for visitors.
During the pandemic, we obviously saw a lot of domestic visitors here in Northern Ontario, and the good news is that they are coming back, and we've actually been able to grow our share of provincial tourism receipts from about 4.5% to 8.5%.
We're seeing a lot of increased interest in the Lake Superior Circle Tour and specifically touring routes. So of the 4 product pillars that we kind of operate within, the 2 that we see doing extremely well is that of fish and hunt.
The panel also shared their insight on marketing strategies, tourism product development, partnership models, and best practices for collaborating with municipalities. This week, Kiiwetinoong MPP Saul Mamakwa stressed the immediate need for a plan to end the housing crisis in remote communities. Northern Development Minister Greg Rickford responded and says developing all-seasons roads and green electricity are the government's first priority. He also noted that many people from isolated communities are moving to urban centers.
Speaker, I have people that are living in canvas tents in the north. The housing supply in the north doesn't meet the demand. As I said, there are 1,500 families waiting for affordable housing, and we cannot continue to play games with the federal government. Can this government work with the federal partners to ensure that we get the funding needed to address the housing crisis and to address that we make sure for affordable housing in the Kenora district?
But I will say this, we are aware that some of the isolated First Nations communities' populations are shrinking. And those folks are moving to towns and cities in the southern part of Northern Ontario, the Kenora and Thunder Bay districts, respectively. That's why, Mr. Speaker, we recognized that there needed to be an enhancement in our investments in the Indigenous supportive housing program. Now back to the isolated communities, Mr. Speaker, it's our hope by thinking about all-season roads and increasing the number of communities that have access to clean, affordable, green electricity and advancing some resource projects throughout Northern Ontario, Mr. Speaker, we will be able to come up with alternative solutions to build affordable housing in isolated communities in Northern Ontario.
Major food banks are warning their future is in jeopardy. This as a growing number of Canadians are turning to them for help. New data from Statistics Canada shows nearly 1 in 4 experienced food insecurity, while more Canadians are living under the poverty line and skipping meals to make ends meet. CTV's Colton Prail reports.
At food banks across the country, donations like these are more vital than ever.
We're worried that if we don't make changes now, we won't be around in the next 3 to 4 years.
Some of Canada's most crucial community safeguards are sounding alarm bells over what they say is an unsustainable increase in demand. At Toronto's Daily Bread Food Bank, usage has grown from 65,000 visits per month pre-pandemic to a forecasted 500,000 visitors every month by the end of next year. In Ottawa, the food bank is now reducing how much it gives out after another month of record increased usage.
I'll be honest, we are not confident that we will be able to meet the demand. We ourselves are having to pull back on the amount of food that we can provide in the community because we have to make sure that we are sustainable for the next couple of years.
New data from Statistics Canada shows nearly 23% of Canadians experienced food insecurity in 2022, an increase of nearly 1.8 million people from the year before. It means operating costs for some food banks are rising by tens of millions of dollars per year. They're asking for government to foot the bill or lower the need.
At some point, it can't just be community, it can't just be philanthropic good. It needs to be something that is in policy, something that is in government laws and regulations to ensure that every Canadian can thrive in community.
In its latest budget, Ottawa introduced a national school breakfast program. It's expected to start in the new school year, but food banks say the need is far bigger and government needs to act much faster in order to solve the problem. Colton Prail, CTV News, Ottawa.
Students in the Environmental Technician program at Confederation College got a refreshing taste of what it's like to be a drinking water operator. The two-day session was in partnership with Walkerton Clean Water Centre, a well-established organization in the water treatment sector. Students were given the chance to meet with Walkerton representatives, receive lectures from industry professionals, and gain experience with the scaled-down water plant in the McIntyre building. The Research and Technology Manager for Walkerton Centre says the training program is something they offer to a number of colleges in Ontario.
This is really important because it prepares them as a future potential drinking water operators. The instrument you see here is the instrument they use in full-scale drinking water plants.
I think that the best part about today is we're getting to use the demo plant that we have built here, which has been under repairs for the last couple of years. So being able to actually get in here and see the full system in operation and get that sort of hands-on experience is really unique and pretty important, I think.
The Thunder Bay Museum is partnering with Science North on a new exhibit. It's called Our Climate Quest, Small Steps to Big Change. The interactive display for kids and adults allows people to explore a few steps they can take to lower their own carbon footprint. Jaden Billick has more.
The grand opening kicked off with speeches from Federal Minister Patty Hajdu, Mayor Ken Boshkoff, and CEO of Science North, Ashley LaRose. The exhibit teaches kids at a young age the importance of protecting our climate and the minuscule steps they can take now to make big change in the future, as those kids will be local leaders in the years ahead.
When kids get a chance to experience exhibits like this, the education doesn't end here. Typically, if they get really excited and we've done our jobs, they bring that home and they talk about it around the dinner table with their families and with their grown-ups, and they can start to exert influence as well. And if we can make sure that they're looking toward climate action with a lens of hope, then we can all have hope for the future.
The custom-sized exhibit located on the second floor of the museum features a smaller rendition of Science North's traveling display. It provides in great detail the impacts of humans slowly changing our climate over long periods of time. The exhibit features a number of interactive games, quizzes, and movie-style content, providing deep and impactful learning opportunities for youth to easily understand.
It's a wonderful way to get kids to explore that in a way that's interactive, tactile, and changes thinking. And that's the great part about museums. Museums are supposed to be a place that we come and we get challenged in the way we think. Not just affirming our beliefs or telling us things we already know, but challenged us.
Science North's goal with this traveling display is to inspire over 2 million youth across Canada to reduce greenhouse gas, in efforts to help the country achieve its goal of net zero emissions by 2050. The exhibit is now open to the public, Organizers are urging anyone with interest to check it out from April 16th to the 30th. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
Curlers from all over North America slid down to the Port Arthur Curling Centre this weekend for its first ever Pride Bonspiel. The first of its kind in Northern Ontario, the event capped off the centre's curling season. Jessica Clement has this story.
The Port Arthur Curling Centre partnered with United We Curl and Rainbow Collective this weekend for an inaugural Pride curling event. The Bonspiel marked the end of the centre's 2023-2024 curling season.
I've been fortunate enough to travel around to play in a few events in Ottawa, Toronto, Calgary, and they're so much fun and really, just show the inclusivity in the curling club, and I wanted to have that here in Thunder Bay.
Event chair Trevor Bonneau says the T-Bay Pride Spiel is the first event of its kind in Northern Ontario. Over 120 curlers took part in the event, with 12 of the 32 participating teams coming from outside Thunder Bay. Bonneau says it's an amazing sight to see and emphasizes the importance of having pride while playing sports.
To have inclusion, especially it's huge. Growing up as a gay athlete, and I wasn't out, so it would have been huge to see something like this at my, when I was a youth. So to have that now, it's really important, and visibility, and it's just awesome to see so many people taking part and showing that, it matters in sport, that everyone's welcome.
And with the success of this weekend, Bonneau is hoping to make the Pride Bonspiel an annual event.
We sold out this event within quite early, so maybe next year we'll grow it, get some more teams, and even hopefully more people coming from out of town.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
We're now joined by sports anchor Josh Marano. Josh, like we said last week, one of the most wonderful times of the year, plenty of playoff hockey going on.
Yep, and you got the Blue Jays back in action. Obviously, they're not doing too hot
I'm
right
not
now.
as happy about that one,
But we'll look at the Canadian teams that were in action in the Stanley Cup playoffs last night, and we'll have those highlights when we come back.